The interstellar trade station gleamed like a jewel against the black canvas of space. Ships from hundreds of planets hovered near the docking bays, and travelers of every imaginable form crowded the corridors. Some floated gracefully using anti-gravity lifts. Others strode firmly, their legs and claws clacking against the metallic floors. Lights blinked in every color, advertising everything from exotic food to rare technology. Lysera, the 17-year-and-6-month-old princess of the planet Aeloria, stepped out of her sleek, pearlescent shuttle. Her presence immediately drew attention. Though young, her posture and sharp eyes carried the weight of her royal status. She wore a ceremonial uniform that shimmered in hues of violet and silver, signaling her rank to anyone who could read Aelorian heraldry. Despite the crowd, she moved with quiet confidence, her gaze scanning the station as though nothing could surprise her. Lysera's advisors, 3 older Aelorians who had served the royal family for decades, trailed behind her. They whispered warnings about human etiquette and the fragile peace treaties she was here to oversee. "Remember, Princess," one said softly, "humans are unpredictable. Treat them with care." Lysera waved a dismissive hand. "Care, I need only speak my mind and observe. Humans are not difficult to read." Her advisors exchanged worried glances. Humans were known across the galaxy as strong and intelligent, but they also carried a reputation for stubbornness. Lysera, however, had grown up in an environment where her word was law. She had never faced someone who would not react to her authority. Meanwhile, in a quieter corner of the station, a human man was preparing to step onto the main concourse. Ethan was in his late 20s, tall and built more for endurance than speed. His dark hair was cropped short, and his eyes carried a calm confidence that did not need to announce itself. Unlike the many aliens around him, he wore simple attire, a dark tunic and trousers, sturdy and practical. Ethan's reputation had traveled ahead of him. He was known for solving conflicts and negotiating agreements where others had failed. Yet he carried none of the arrogance that many diplomats displayed. He believed in observation, patience, and calm reasoning, qualities that made him both respected and underestimated. The first time Lysera saw him, she immediately thought him ordinary. His quiet demeanor, the way he moved without flourish, seemed to her a sign of weakness. A small smile touched her lips. Here was a human she could test. The diplomatic meeting took place in a large hall, filled with representatives from dozens of planets. Crystalline walls reflected soft lights, and the air hummed with quiet chatter. Lysera entered with the grace of someone born to command attention. All eyes followed her, and she noticed a few aliens whispering comments about the human sitting quietly across the room. Lysera approached him, her steps deliberate and commanding. "You are the human," she said, her voice carrying just enough amusement to sting. "I have heard of your species. Simple ways. Are you sure you belong among such esteemed company?" Ethan looked up slowly. He did not smile, nor did he seem offended. His eyes met hers with a calm, steady gaze. He did not respond immediately. He merely studied her, as if weighing her words without the need to speak. The hall fell silent. Aliens murmured to one another, some snickering at the princess's boldness. Lysera tilted her head slightly, expecting some kind of reaction, anger, defense, even fear. Yet Ethan's face remained calm, unreadable. Finally, Lysera's smile faded. "Surely," she continued, a hint of sharpness in her tone, "you humans cannot truly expect to match the minds of the galaxy's leaders. You are young, inexperienced, and predictable." At that, something unexpected happened. Ethan simply rose from his chair. Without a word, without a hint of anger, he turned his back to her and walked away. His steps were even and calm, his posture perfect. He did not hurry, but he did not hesitate. The silence in the hall grew heavier. Aliens gasped. Some laughed nervously, unsure if they had witnessed brilliance or foolishness. Lysera froze in place, her violet eyes narrowing. She had never met anyone, human or otherwise, who could ignore her in this way. It was as if her words had evaporated into thin air, leaving only a sense of curiosity and frustration. "Wait," one of her advisors whispered, but Lysera did not respond. Her pride would not allow it. Instead, she followed him with her gaze as he moved across the hall, a small crowd parting instinctively to let him pass. Ethan did not glance back. He went directly to the communication console at the far end of the hall, checking messages and security alerts. He acted as though nothing had happened. And yet, for Lysera, the moment lingered longer than she expected. She had thought her status and words could command respect or fear. Instead, she faced silence and calm defiance. For the first time, someone had not reacted to her in the way she expected. Later, as the meeting proceeded, Lysra kept stealing glances at Ethan. She noticed the way he interacted with others, not with pride, nor with submission, but with a quiet, careful observation. He listened before speaking, and when he did, his words were deliberate and meaningful. Even the aliens who had once mocked humans seemed to notice his competence, though none admitted it openly. Lysra's curiosity grew, but so did a subtle irritation. Her pride resisted the idea that a human could remain unaffected by her words. She replayed their encounter in her mind, analyzing each detail. She could not understand why he had not reacted, nor why his silence felt challenging. By the end of the day, the meeting concluded with formal agreements and polite farewells. Lysra returned to her shuttle, but her thoughts remained on the human. His quiet strength, his refusal to be provoked, had unsettled her more than she wanted to admit. Ethan, meanwhile, finished his work calmly, unaware of the ripple his silence had caused. To him, the encounter was simple, a matter of observing and acting with reason. He had no need to prove himself through words or reaction. Yet unknowingly, he had already made a deep impression on the young princess. As the station lights dimmed for the evening, Lysra stood on the observation deck of her shuttle. She watched ships drift in and out, her mind replaying Ethan's calm, steady demeanor. It was unsettling and intriguing. She realized that if humans could act like this in diplomacy, their potential in the galaxy might be greater than she had imagined. Her advisors approached quietly. "Princess," one said, "the human, he is not like the others. He did not respond to your words. He ignored you." Lysra's lips curved slightly, not with amusement, but with contemplation. "Ignored me?" she repeated softly. "No, he did not ignore me. He unobserved me. That is far more dangerous than anger or fear." The advisors exchanged nervous glances. Lysra rarely spoke this way. She had faced warriors, diplomats, and even assassins, yet none had challenged her understanding of power like this human. As the shuttle prepared to leave the station, Lysra made a silent decision. This human, Ethan, would not be forgotten. He had challenged her pride without words, and that intrigued her more than any fleet, weapon, or treaty ever could, unseen by her. Ethan walked through the station corridors on his own, finishing his reports and planning his next steps. He remained unaware of the effect he had caused. To him, the encounter was over, yet unknowingly, it had planted the first seed of a story that would unfold across planets, diplomacy, and danger. The galaxy was vast, and the young princess had much to learn. For the first time, she wondered, not about herself, but about the species she had dismissed. Humans. And somewhere in that vastness, a quiet rivalry, or perhaps a deep respect, had begun. After the diplomatic meeting, the interstellar trade station continued its busy rhythm. Travelers hurried through the wide corridors, merchants shouted over each other, and holographic signs flashed deals and announcements in dozens of languages. But for Lysra, the princess of Aloria, the station felt different. She walked with her advisors, but her thoughts were elsewhere. Ethan's calm, silent departure had unsettled her more than she expected. She had been trained to command attention, to make her presence known. Yet this human had refused to respond, not with anger, not with fear, and not even with a challenge. He had simply turned and walked away. That simple act had made her feel something she rarely experienced: uncertainty. "Princess," one of her advisors whispered, "you were distracted during the meeting." The human, he remains calm even under provocation. "It is unusual." Lysra stopped and looked at him sharply. Unusual? She repeated.
No, he is
Patient. Observant. He does not react to what does not matter. That is different, yes, but dangerous too. I need to understand him. Her advisors nodded nervously. Lysra rarely allowed curiosity to guide her decisions, but this human had sparked it. There was something about his quiet strength that she could not ignore. Meanwhile, Ethan walked through a quieter section of the station. He had no interest in ceremony or attention. He moved with purpose, checking reports and messages on his personal device. To him, the day had been routine. He had observed, made notes, and completed his duties efficiently. The human approach was simple. Act with intelligence and calm, avoid unnecessary conflict, and always consider the consequences. Yet unseen by Ethan, word of the princess's encounter with him had already spread across the station. Aliens whispered in corridors, speculating about the strange human who had ignored a royal insult. Many laughed, thinking him foolish. Others were curious. Across the galaxy, humans were often underestimated. This only made him more interesting. Lysra spent the next hours observing him indirectly. She noticed how he interacted with station staff. No arrogance, no condescension, only quiet efficiency. A security officer approached him with a small problem, and Ethan listened carefully before suggesting a solution. The officer's expression changed from worry to respect, and Lysra watched closely. Humans could do more than she had assumed. Later, a minor crisis erupted in one of the station's docking bays. A supply transport ship had a malfunction, and it threatened to collide with another ship. Aliens panicked, running in every direction, shouting orders that only made things worse. Ethan was already on the scene. Without hesitation, he analyzed the situation. He barked calm instructions to nearby crew, directing them to stabilize the transport. His actions were precise and measured. In moments, the immediate danger passed, though the ship still required careful repair. Lysra arrived at the scene curious and cautious. From a distance, she observed Ethan's leadership. He did not shout or demand respect. He simply acted and others followed. The situation could have ended in chaos, but humans, she realized, could adapt quickly, think clearly, and act decisively. For the first time, Lysra felt something unfamiliar, a flicker of admiration. Yet her pride refused to allow her to acknowledge it openly. Instead, she focused on the logistics, noting his methods silently. Ethan noticed her presence briefly but did not pause. He had learned long ago that unnecessary attention could cloud judgment. Every action he took was deliberate. To him, the human way was simple. Focus on the problem, solve it efficiently, and leave personal feelings aside. As the docking bay returned to normal, Lysra found herself thinking about him constantly. She replayed their first meeting, the insult and his calm silence. The human had not only ignored her words but had also acted in a way that proved his worth without needing to boast. That evening, Lysra returned to her shuttle. She sat in her private quarters looking out at the station below. The lights twinkled like distant stars, but her thoughts were not on the beauty around her. They were on Ethan. She realized that she had underestimated humans. They were not simple. They were clever, patient, and capable of surprising strength. Her advisors watched quietly. They had seen their princess curious before, but this fascination seemed deeper. "Princess," one said, "you are thinking about the human again. Is this wise? He is not from our world." Lysra turned her gaze toward him, her violet eyes sharp. "Wise or not," she said softly, "I need to understand him. If humans are capable of such calm in the face of provocation, they could be more dangerous, or more valuable than I thought." The next day, Lysra attended another series of meetings, but her attention remained partly on Ethan. She observed how he moved through the station, how other aliens responded to him, and how he solved small problems without drama. Each observation added to her growing respect, though she still would not admit it. Meanwhile, rumors about the human continued to spread. Aliens whispered about the way he had ignored a royal insult, and how he had handled the docking bay crisis with calm precision. Some mocked him, claiming that humans were overrated. Others quietly reconsidered their opinions, wondering if perhaps they had misjudged the species. Lysra's curiosity began to take a subtle form of challenge. She decided to test him again, not with words but with observation. She watched how he approached a diplomatic council, where minor disputes were being resolved. Humans, she realized, could think quickly, anticipate problems, and act without drawing attention to themselves. Every action seemed deliberate, every word measured. That evening, as the station's artificial lights dimmed for rest cycles, Lysra reflected on her own behavior. She had come here confident, proud, certain of her superiority. Yet this human had challenged her in ways no alien had before. He had neither yielded nor flinched, and he had proven competence without needing to show off. Ethan, meanwhile, returned to his small quarters. He reviewed the day's events calmly. To him, it was all routine. He had acted as a human should, with intelligence, patience, and care. He did not seek attention or praise, yet unknowingly he had already made a lasting impression on the young princess of Aloria. The next morning, a larger disturbance occurred on the station. A transport vessel carrying critical supplies had been sabotaged, and panic spread quickly. Alarms blared and aliens shouted commands, many of which only worsened the chaos. Lysra, present at the scene due to her role in diplomacy, watched as Ethan quickly assessed the situation. Without hesitation, he organized teams, secured the area, and directed repairs. His calm leadership contrasted sharply with the frantic energy of the aliens around him. Lysra found herself stepping closer, compelled by the effectiveness of his actions. For the first time, she felt an urge not to command, but to understand. She studied his movements, his decisions, and the way others followed him without question. Humans, she realized, were not only adaptable but capable of inspiring respect silently. When the crisis was resolved, Lysra approached him quietly, intending to observe more closely. Yet she hesitated, unsure if she should speak. Ethan glanced up briefly, nodded politely, and returned to his tasks. His calm, the interstellar trade station had barely settled after the last incident, when a new threat emerged. A fleet of rogue aliens known for raiding diplomatic missions and supply vessels appeared near the station's edge. Their ships moved like shadows, swift and dangerous, their presence immediately triggering alarms. Panic spread among the station's inhabitants. Lysra was in the command hall when the alert sounded. Her advisors whispered frantic suggestions, but she kept her composure. "Calm," she said firmly. "We will handle this. Let us first understand the situation." Her violet eyes scanned the holographic displays showing the incoming fleet. Ethan was already present, quietly observing the monitors. He had anticipated that rogue groups might take advantage of the previous chaos. While aliens panicked, he analyzed the fleet's movement, patterns, and potential weaknesses. Lysra noticed him immediately. His calmness irritated her. She had seen panic in others, but this human's cool logic seemed almost disrespectful to her royal authority. Yet she could not deny its effectiveness. One of her advisors stepped forward, nervous. "Princess, we should evacuate immediately. Our defenses are limited." Lysra shook her head. "Evacuation is not strategy. Observation and action are strategy. Humans—" Her gaze fell on Ethan. "Perhaps we will need his insight." Ethan looked up briefly, nodding respectfully. "If you follow my plan, we can protect the station without unnecessary risk," he said simply. His voice carried no arrogance, only reason. Lysra felt a mixture of annoyance and curiosity. She was not used to following another's direction, especially a human's, but the situation demanded cooperation, and she quickly realized that disregarding him could be dangerous. The first phase of the rogue fleet's attack began with drones infiltrating the station's outer docks. Small explosions rocked the bays, and alien workers screamed in panic. Lysra immediately took command of the station's security teams, while Ethan coordinated the defensive drones and tactical protocols. Lysra tried to maintain authority, giving orders to security officers, but she noticed something. When she gave instructions, some crews hesitated, unsure whether to follow her or Ethan. The human's calm presence inspired confidence. Aliens began following his directions without question, even when those orders conflicted with traditional protocols. Frustration prickled at Lysra, but she could not deny results. The drones were neutralized faster than she expected, and damage to the station was minimal. After the initial wave, Lysra approached Ethan, her voice firm but measured. "You act as though you have been in command of fleets your entire life. Tell me, human, what is your method?" Ethan did not take offense at her tone. "Observation first. Understand the enemy. Use the station's resources efficiently. Coordinate, do not panic. And always think 2 steps ahead. Lysra frowned. She had never considered that such simplicity could be so effective. Her advisors murmured approval, though they looked nervous as the princess studied him closely. The rogue fleet's leader then deployed a larger attack. Armed vessels advanced toward the main docking hubs. The station's shields were strong, but only for so long. Lysra realized that this time, action alone would not suffice. They needed teamwork. Reluctantly, she turned to Ethan. We will act together. You and I, our methods must combine. Ethan nodded calmly. Agreed. We have no time for hesitation. They moved to the central tactical room, a place where holographic maps displayed every ship and crew on the station. Lysra quickly understood that working with Ethan meant listening, not just commanding. He suggested placing defensive drones in strategic positions, rerouting power to shield critical areas, and organizing evacuation routes without creating chaos. Lysra's pride initially bristled at following another's plan, but as the battle began, she saw results. Aliens who had doubted humans began to respect Ethan's efficiency. The station was secure in ways that pure command could not have achieved. During a particularly dangerous moment, a rogue vessel managed to breach the outer shield. Alarms blared, and several smaller craft were in danger of being destroyed. Lysra's first instinct was to act alone, to confront the threat directly. But Ethan's calm voice stopped her. Princess, step back. Let the drones handle it. Coordinate from here. The moment you intervene without observation, we risk more damage. Lysra hesitated, then realized he was right. She watched as the drones intercepted the rogue ship, disabling it with precision. The humans' methodical, patient approach had saved the docking bay without unnecessary risk. For the first time, Lysra felt a sense of respect mingled with admiration. She had thought humans were predictable, perhaps limited, yet here was proof that intelligence and calm strategy could surpass raw power and authority. The battle continued for hours. Each wave of the rogue fleet tested their coordination. Lysra and Ethan communicated constantly, sharing observations and adjusting tactics. Slowly, their differences became strengths. Lysra's decisiveness and commanding presence inspired the station's defenders, while Ethan's calm planning ensured minimal damage and effective countermeasures. During a brief lull, Lysra stepped away from the tactical console. Her hands rested on the railing of the observation deck, and she allowed herself a moment of reflection. This human, she murmured to herself, he is not just calm. He sees what others miss. He thinks like no one else I have met. Ethan, noticing her absence, followed quietly. Princess, he said softly, we must remain focused. The rogue fleet may return. Lysra turned, slightly startled. She studied him for a moment, realizing that his words carried no lecture. No pride, only reason. She nodded. Yes, focus. You are correct, human. Always correct. Ethan simply nodded, accepting her acknowledgement without comment. His humility combined with competence fascinated her. She realized that human strength was not in boasting or dominance, it was in calm intelligence, observation, and action. As the rogue fleet prepared its final assault, Lysra and Ethan worked seamlessly together. Lysra's authority and decision-making guided the station's defenders, while Ethan's strategic placement of drones and shields ensured minimal loss. Every alien present noticed the humans' quiet efficiency and the princess's willingness to collaborate. The final wave of the fleet attempted a direct strike on the station's power core. Aliens panicked, but Lysra and Ethan remained composed. Ethan calculated the timing, while Lysra coordinated defensive teams to intercept. The attack was neutralized, the fleet forced to retreat. The station had survived with minimal damage. After the battle, the station fell silent. Workers, crew, and diplomats looked at the princess and the human with awe. Some aliens whispered about human ingenuity, while others murmured about the unexpected partnership that had saved them all. Lysra turned to Ethan, her violet eyes reflecting a mixture of respect and curiosity. You are remarkable, she admitted, though her tone was cautious. I had underestimated humans. Ethan smiled faintly, a simple gesture. And I have seen the value of leadership when combined with careful planning, he said. His words were modest but carried sincerity. For the first time, Lysra considered that humans might not only survive in the galaxy, but could excel where others. The interstellar trade station had returned to a cautious calm after the rogue fleet's retreat. But the sense of peace was fragile. Lysera knew it was only temporary. The princess had learned much from Ethan's calm efficiency, yet her pride still stirred whenever she recalled her first insult and his silent response. She was not used to being challenged even indirectly, and she sensed that this human had done exactly that. Early the next day, a new alert shook the station. A group of hostile aliens had infiltrated the cargo levels, aiming to sabotage critical supplies and create chaos during the upcoming diplomatic summit. The station's alarms blared and panic spread among crews and visitors alike. Lysera rushed to the command center, her advisors trailing closely behind. "We must act quickly," she said, her voice commanding. "If these aliens succeed, the summit is lost, and the station could be compromised." Ethan was already in the center of the chaos, calmly reviewing the security reports and tracking the intruders' movements. His presence brought an unspoken order to the panic around him. Aliens who had previously doubted him now followed his instructions without question. Lysera felt a pang of frustration. She wanted to take direct action, to show her authority and decisiveness. Yet she also recognized that working with Ethan offered a better chance of stopping the threat. Reluctantly, she approached him. "We must coordinate," she said firmly. "I will lead the security teams on the ground. You direct the surveillance and defenses." Ethan nodded, his calm voice steady. "Agreed. Communication is key. Trust in the plan, Princess, and we will contain the situation." The first teams moved into the cargo levels. Lysera commanded with precision, her voice clear and decisive. Security officers followed her orders, neutralizing minor threats and securing civilians. Yet the hostile aliens were skilled, moving quickly through corridors and using technology unfamiliar to most station personnel. Ethan monitored every camera feed and sensor reading. He identified patterns in the intruders' movements and relayed instructions to security teams, positioning drones and automated defenses where they would be most effective. His calm efficiency contrasted sharply with the panic around them. Suddenly, one of the intruders appeared directly in Lysera's path. The alien moved with deadly speed, and Lysera barely had time to react. She drew her ceremonial energy blade, her reflexes sharp, but the intruder was skilled, anticipating her every move. Ethan, observing the situation from the control hub, acted immediately. "Princess, step back. I've calculated a safe intercept point. Trust me." Lysera hesitated. Her pride screamed at her to fight, to prove her strength. Yet she saw the logic in his voice and the precision of his calculations displayed on the holographic map. She stepped aside just as a defensive drone intercepted the intruder, disabling it with minimal damage. For a moment, Lysera felt a mix of relief and admiration. Ethan had saved her, not with brute force, but with observation, planning, and precise action. She realized that humans could act decisively while remaining calm, a combination she had never fully understood before. The hostile group regrouped, pressing deeper into the station. Lysera and Ethan coordinated the defense seamlessly. She led teams in direct engagement, while he orchestrated tactical support, anticipating the aliens' moves and countering them before they could strike. During a particularly tense moment, an intruder attempted to reach a critical communications hub. Lysera rushed forward to intercept, but Ethan's voice stopped her again. "Princess, the hub is a trap. Step back and let the drones handle it. Focus on securing the civilians." Lysera paused, her pride bristling, but she followed his instructions. The intruder was neutralized without incident. She realized with a quiet pang that sometimes restraint and observation were stronger than direct confrontation. Hours passed as the battle continued. Lysera moved through corridors, her energy blade ready yet always mindful of Ethan's guidance. The human's calm presence allowed her to act strategically, combining her decisiveness with his intelligence. Finally, the intruders were cornered in a storage bay. Lysera led the team in containing them, while Ethan coordinated the remaining drones to prevent escape. Together, their teamwork was flawless. The hostile aliens were subdued and the station was secure once more. After the crisis, Lysera stepped onto the observation deck, her breathing steady but her mind racing. She had seen humans in battle before, in stories and reports, but witnessing Ethan's courage and intelligence firsthand had changed her perception entirely. He had faced danger calmly, calculated every risk, and acted decisively without seeking glory. Ethan joined her quietly, standing a respectful distance away. He did not boast, nor did he seek recognition. His calm presence was enough. "You acted Impressively, Lysera said softly, her voice betraying a hint of humility. I had underestimated humans. Your patience, your foresight, it is unlike anything I have seen. Ethan nodded simply. Thank you, Princess. I only did what I thought was necessary. Observation, planning, and action. That is how humans survive in unpredictable situations. Lysera studied him for a long moment. She realized that her first insult, the one that had caused him to walk away silently, had been not just ignored but outmatched by his actions. Humans did not need to react to pride or insult. They acted with intelligence and calm, letting their results speak for themselves. Her advisors approached, their expressions a mix of awe and caution. Princess, one said, he is extraordinary. The way he handled the intruders. Lysera raised a hand to stop them. Do not speak, observe, there is much to learn. Her tone was firm yet not dismissive. She had learned that humility and observation could be as powerful as authority. Later, in the quiet of her shuttle, Lysera reflected on the day's events. She had faced danger, witnessed human courage firsthand, and realized that intelligence and calm action could surpass pride and authority. Ethan had taught her without words a lesson she would not forget. True strength was measured not by rank or titles, but by the ability to act with intelligence, courage, and patience under pressure. As she looked out at the stars, Lysera made a silent vow. She would observe this human further, study his methods, and perhaps learn what made humans so capable. She realized that understanding him and humans in general could be essential for her growth as a leader. Ethan, meanwhile, quietly reviewed the station's logs. To him, the day had been a success because the right actions had been taken at the right time. He did not seek praise, yet the station's inhabitants would remember him and the princess long after. The first bond of mutual respect had solidified during the battle. Lysera's pride had been challenged, yet she had survived and learned. Ethan had acted with intelligence, patience, and courage, earning her respect without ever needing to speak a single boastful word. As the shuttle prepared for rest cycles, Lysera turned to look at the distant horizon. For the first time, she considered that power alone was not enough. Observation, intelligence, and calm courage were equally important. Humans, she realized, possessed all three. Ethan, in his own quarters, quietly considered the events of the day. He had acted as humans often did, with calm efficiency, intelligence, and careful planning. Yet he sensed something had shifted in Lysera. The princess, once proud and dismissive, now regarded him with curiosity and respect. The galaxy was vast, and the young princess had learned a vital lesson. Even someone from a species she had underestimated could teach her more than she had imagined. And so, the bond between Lysera and Ethan deepened, silently yet profoundly. It was not friendship, not yet, but something quieter, a recognition of strength, intelligence, and capability that transcended species. As night fell across the station, Lysera made another silent promise to herself. She would see this human again, not for duty or diplomacy, but to understand him better. The events of the day had tested both of them. The station had returned to its usual rhythm after the recent crises, but an air of anticipation lingered. The diplomatic summit, which had been delayed by sabotage attempts and attacks, was finally set to begin. Representatives from dozens of worlds gathered in the Grand Hall, their conversations a mix of formal greetings and whispered speculation. Lysera, the Princess of Aloria, walked into the hall with quiet confidence. Her violet eyes scanned the room, noting the positions of diplomats, security personnel, and the human she had come to observe closely. Ethan. Ethan stood near the central communications console, reviewing reports and ensuring the security protocols were fully functional. His calm demeanor, even in a room crowded with alien dignitaries, commanded respect without drawing attention. Lysera watched him carefully. She had learned much from him over the past days. Lessons in patience, intelligence, and courage. But now she wanted to understand him fully. As the summit began, discussions moved swiftly from trade agreements to defense protocols. Aliens argued loudly over minor points, often letting pride cloud reason. Yet Ethan remained composed, offering suggestions when appropriate, always practical and measured. Lysera felt a growing respect for him. She realized that humans did not rely on authority or intimidation. They relied on intelligence, observation, and careful action. Watching Ethan, she understood that strength could be quiet and effective, not loud or boastful. During a break in the discussions, a minor technical issue arose. A holographic display flickered, threatening to obscure critical information. Diplomats began to panic, unsure how to restore the system. Without hesitation, Ethan stepped forward. His hands moved with precision, adjusting the settings and repairing the glitch. Within moments, the display was fully functional again. The room fell silent for a moment, then erupted in polite applause. Aliens who had doubted humans whispered to one another, their expressions a mix of surprise and admiration. Lysera stepped closer, her expression thoughtful. "You handled that calmly, efficiently," she said softly, her voice carrying a hint of humility. "I underestimated humans." Ethan glanced at her, his expression neutral yet respectful. "Thank you, Princess. I only acted as I thought necessary. Observation, careful planning, and calm action often solve problems faster than panic or haste." Lysera nodded. She realized that her pride had once blinded her to the true capabilities of humans. Now, after witnessing his actions in battle, during crises and in diplomacy, she understood the depth of his strength. The summit resumed, and negotiations continued smoothly, largely thanks to the combined efforts of Lysera and Ethan. Their quiet cooperation was noticeable, though subtle. Diplomats began to follow suggestions without argument, inspired by the calm confidence both displayed. After the summit concluded successfully, Lysera asked Ethan to accompany her to the observation deck. She wished to speak privately, away from the eyes of the galaxy. Once alone, she turned to him, her violet eyes reflecting a mixture of respect and contemplation. "Ethan," she began softly, "I owe you an apology. My words when we first met, they were offensive. I spoke without understanding, and you did not respond as I expected. I see now that your silence was not weakness, but strength." Ethan smiled faintly, his calm nature unwavering. "Thank you, Princess. Your words then were based on misunderstanding. I held no offense. Humans often observe before reacting, and we act when necessary." Lysera's lips curved slightly, a rare smile for the princess who had always been proud. "I misjudged you, and I misjudged your species. You have taught me patience, observation, and courage. I see now that strength is not only in command or title, but in intelligence and action. I respect you, Ethan, and I hope this is the beginning of understanding between our peoples." Ethan nodded, accepting her acknowledgement without hesitation. "Respect is mutual, Princess. Your decisiveness and leadership inspired me as well. We achieved much together because we combined our strengths." For a moment they stood in silence, both reflecting on the past days, the insults, the crises, the cooperation, and the lessons learned. Lysera realized that humans could not only survive but excel in situations where pride and authority alone failed. Later, in the Grand Hall, Lysera addressed the diplomats one final time. Her voice was calm, commanding, yet filled with sincerity. "Today we have witnessed cooperation between species, demonstrating that understanding and respect are more powerful than conflict or arrogance. Let this be a reminder that intelligence, courage, and patience can achieve what force alone cannot." Aliens and humans alike listened intently. Many nodded, some whispered in agreement, and others, previously skeptical, began to reconsider their assumptions about humans. Ethan's quiet presence at her side only reinforced her words. As the summit concluded, Lysera returned to her shuttle with Ethan. The station had survived chaos, sabotage, and threats largely because of their combined efforts. Lysera reflected on everything that had occurred: her initial insult, Ethan's silent walk away, the crises they had faced together, and the lessons she had learned. "Ethan," she said softly, once they were alone in the shuttle, "your actions have shown me that humans are capable of far more than I imagined. I respect you deeply, not only for what you have done but for who you are. Your calm, intelligence, and courage are rare qualities, and I am grateful to have witnessed them." Ethan nodded, his expression thoughtful. "Thank you, Princess. It was my duty and my choice to act with care and reason. I hope that our actions today encourage others to see humans not as simple or predictable, but as capable and reliable allies." Lysera smiled, a genuine warmth in her eyes. "They will, Ethan, and perhaps in time our people will learn from each other, combining strengths for the benefit of all." The shuttle lifted from the station, gliding smoothly into the void of space. Lizera watched the stars, her mind alive with possibilities. For the first time, she felt that understanding humans and learning from them could be crucial not only for herself, but for her planet and its place in the galaxy. Ethan stood beside her, quiet and observant. His presence reminded her of all she had learned, that true strength came from intelligence, calm action, and courage in the face of uncertainty. The events of the past days had changed her. She had faced challenges, witnessed human capability, and learned humility. The princess realized that leadership was not merely about command or pride, but about understanding, cooperation, and respect for those around her. As the shuttle moved through the stars, Lizera turned to Ethan one last time. "I hope this is only the beginning," she said softly. "Our peoples may have much to learn from each other, and I hope we will continue to work together." Ethan met her gaze, calm and confident. "I hope so too, Princess. Humans are willing to learn, and we are capable of great things when we act with reason and courage. Together, perhaps we can achieve even more." Lizera nodded, feeling a quiet satisfaction. The human she had first dismissed and offended had become a source of respect, a teacher without words and a partner in action. She realized that true understanding between species began not with dominance or arrogance, but with observation, patience, and collaboration. The shuttle glided into the depths of space, carrying the princess and the human away from the station. Yet their story was far from over. They had survived danger, learned from one another, and discovered the value of mutual respect. Lizera knew that humans, with their quiet intelligence and courage, would continue to surprise the galaxy, and that their cooperation could shape the future in ways few could imagine. For Lizera, the lesson was clear. Pride alone could not teach wisdom. Observation, humility, and the courage to act decisively were equally important. And for Ethan, the confirmation was just as clear. Humanity's quiet strength, intelligence, and moral courage earned respect even from the proudest of alien royalty. The stars stretched endlessly around them, a reminder of the vastness of the galaxy and the countless possibilities it held. And as Lizera and Ethan looked ahead, each silently acknowledged the bond that had formed.